So I'm here in a low forested kind of valley on the property, and this is where we've introduced a native edible species to just hopefully go wild and integrate into this mostly native ecosystem. And what we introduced a couple years back are what are called ramps, Allium trichocum, and they're a type of onion basically, and they're down here in their preferred habitat, and these are native to North America and the Northeast, so you know they do fit into this habitat here, and they really like these low-lying, moist, shady understories, and they come up in spring before all the trees in the forest leaf out. So there's still a lot of sunlight, there's a lot of moisture, and they have enough time to do their thing down here before, you know, they kind of spend the rest of the summer slowly going dormant, and then, you know, they come back the next spring. So they're just now starting to come up. It's kind of mid-April here, and you can see there are ramps coming up, and they're definitely spreading. Their population is expanding very steadily, perhaps even exponentially. Careful not to step on any of them, but here's one. We've planted a few clusters around, and the clusters are spreading, and one day, you know, this will probably be a lot of ramps in here, and so, you know, when that day comes, we'll be able to harvest quite a few more. Right for now, we're basically only harvesting leaves, and you know, we can't really take very many. Like 6 or 7 leaves is already kind of a lot from this little population here, because they do grow pretty slow. They're small, but you know, like I said, their population is expanding. So hopefully one day there'll be, you know, kind of like a big carpet in this area, and we'll be able to, you know, even eat the bulbs and sustainably harvest some of the bulbs, and then also transplant them around to other shady, moist understory areas of this property. And you know, I want to keep an eye on them and make sure they're not like crowding out any of the native species, because there's a lot of cool stuff in here, like trilliums and you know, here and there. So try and keep an eye on that and make sure, you know, that they're not behaving in too much of an aggressive way, but I think they're slow enough and small enough and native enough that they're gonna sort of be friends and cooperate. And you know, if they do get out of hand, what we can do is simply harvest a bunch of them and keep their population in check, because they're absolutely delicious. You know, they're a delicacy. Their flavor is somewhere between an onion and garlic and leeks. You know, it's just like this really great flavor. So yeah, we basically have a community of roughly 200 people here year-round. That number goes way up in the summer, and then sometimes it goes down, you know, but that's kind of a rough estimate of the number of people who are living here on this property, this 220-acre property. And so, you know, it's an interesting aspect of the farm and garden program to think about, you know, how many potatoes would you need to grow, you know, and harvest to feed 200 people year round. You know, you start doing the math on it and everything, and you can do that with other aspects, you know, the sugaring operation, or, you know, raising pigs, chickens for eggs and meat. And this is why we're also interested in increasing our mushroom cultivation. You know, it's another thing that can basically, this is also the same habitat, right? Like we could do mushroom logs down here in this shady, moist understory, right alongside the ramps and a bunch of other really cool, interesting plants, interesting ferns, spring ephemerals. So here they are. Here's a cluster that I think we probably planted, or maybe, I don't know, maybe this one planted itself, but a few years ago, because this one's more established. And then like nearby, I can see a little cluster. It's probably where the seed head fell, and I see about 4 ramps popping up right there. And it's kind of hard to tell right now, but there's actually quite a few of them around. So I'll check back when they're, when they've grown out a little bit more. We're entering the next stage of spring, and it's basically the ramps stage. It's the stage where we get really excited about ramps and mushrooms. So you can see we've shut down the sugar shack. We've moved on to the garden for now. But we picked out this spot for our mushroom cultivation, which we're gonna do in the next week or two. We'll make a video of that. So this section right here is where we're thinking of doing a mushroom laying yard, and just having all kinds of different stacks and methods of mushroom cultivation in this shady, understory of these evergreens. There's red pines, and then there's balsam fir in this area. And I've been cleaning up a lot of this understory, or kind of just organizing it in different ways so that we can have a little bit more open space down here. And but I've also been working on this path that connects all these different elements of the greater forest garden, basically, which the sugar bush is technically a forest garden, I think. And then a mushroom laying yard under a pine plantation. This is agroforestry. And then this single trail, I'm hoping will connect through all the different elements of the garden, right? So now we're into this section which blew down. This was all part of that red pine plantation, this red pine stand. But in here it all fell during windstorms about 10 years ago. And then, we replanted all of this stuff. Well, not all of it. A lot of it replanted itself. But we did come in with, New York's forestry department trees. I think they planted like 600 trees. So there's like oaks, all different kinds of conifers. I don't know, all kinds of stuff. Some shrubs, interesting like understory species, which I'm still learning about. So, and then, this trail kind of breaks into like a network of trails, and they just kind of meander through this regenerating section, and several of them lead in different ways to the forest garden. So you can kind of meander all the way through, the sugar bush, the mushroom laying yard, into the forest garden, which is kind of a, it's a diversity of different styles. You have some more manicured areas, but it is, more of this ecosystem approach, incorporating plants all together into a very natural sort of environment, as opposed to doing rows. So if you cross the soccer field and head up to the garden over there, the production garden, right before you get to the annual production garden where we plow, there's several rows of perennials. We have sea berry, raspberry, we had a rhubarb patch that we're moving. There's rows of asparagus, and we're planting some more in that area. So that's, you know, it's a different style of agriculture. And then you keep going, you're in the annual production garden. And then there's the children's garden, which is, you know, more organized, perennial garden, very manicured and well looked after. And you keep going, and then you go to the farm, and, you know, you have the horses and the pastures. So, but we're expanding and we're integrating. You know, we're trying to integrate these different elements of the farm and garden, and you know, create a lot of different kinds of gardens like I was describing, you know. Also, I wanted to show you where the ramps are. There's a few different locations, but this is kind of the most promising. Beneath this hass cap, by this rock protecting him, you know, here's some ramps, and it's kind of in this low swale area, so hopefully that mimics its natural habitat. You know, we'll get a good accumulation of leaves and moisture, and hopefully the ramps will spread in the understory of these. We've got a haskap here, and then we have a serviceberry, and that should get pretty big. I'm not sure the exact size, the mature size of this variety, but there are wild serviceberries here that get 20-30 feet tall, maybe more. So, you know, we've got a couple of serviceberries planted around in here, and this oak tree, black locust, a lot of different useful species, but also just some nice native species that will help add diversity. So yeah, we're entering our 8th growing season since first establishing this section here, this forest garden. And a lot of the trees are starting to get big enough to produce fruits, and also big enough to create some shade and really start to create a more woodland vibe. We put in some pawpaws here, try and keep them shady for first few years of their life, and then give them some more sunlight. But, you know, this one's right in the shade of this black locust, which can get as big as we want it, and we can cut it as much as we want and use that good wood for all kinds of different things. It's fixing nitrogen. You know, there's some huge nodules on the roots, and it's planted here in this Hugelkultur, which we created 8 years ago. You know, I dug a big trench, loaded a bunch of those logs from the red pines and everything that blew down, which, you know, are down there still, breaking down into like a big sponge. There's all kinds of critters living in this, some snakes and voles, and you know, we topped it off with more manure and mulch, and then we've just been planting into it like crazy, trying to establish a permanent coverage of, you know, a diverse assemblage. We've got blueberries, currants, onions, chives. Oh, we've got walking onions in here too. But, you know, there's yarrow, there's bee balms and mints, different kinds of currants, and on the other side there's like horseradish and strawberries. And, you know, we're trying to encourage some more wildflower type herbaceous layer. So there's all kinds of different native and non-native plants growing on this hugel, and it's looking really good. And then over here there's a little bit more of a large scale organization. You know, things are more laid out on contour in rows. There's these swales, and I'm in the process of fixing this bottom swale, which wasn't quite level on this side. That half was fine, and this half started to incline a little bit too much. And basically what happened was I started on this side over here, and was going across, and I hit this huge rock that I didn't know was so big and immovable. So I had to nudge this whole side down, basically, which now means that I am correcting that side. It was a little too steep and narrow. It needed to be more wide and gentle. So basically from this black locust right here beyond, I need to nudge that whole mound outward by like 2 or 3 feet, and then dig this part down a few inches. It's not much, but it's like, you know, there's two things going on. The floor of the swale is too high on this side, basically, but also the mound is too big and it's too narrow. Part of this was because I used the tractor to, like, my idea was like, oh, I can use the tractor and it'll, you know, it'll do 80% of the work, because doing it by hand with a shovel is hard, and I had already done that one and I was tired. So, but you know, I wasn't as precise with the tractor as I should have been, and then I had this issue with the rock. So anyway, it's no big deal. I'm gonna fix that side, and it's gonna look a lot better, and it's gonna hold water a little better on that side. But it has this nice level sill, this nice spillway, which allows it to go down over this mowed portion of the lawn, basically. And then it'll run down and capture, it'll get captured in this swale, which I'm creating. You know, it's got these rocks that are basically on contour, so I'm just adding a little bit of soil on this uphill side and then planting into it, and that's it. And the rocks will be nice, you know, it'll heat up. The sun will heat up the rocks, and the rocks will keep the plants warm. Anyway, just wanted to do a quick update. All right, have a good one.